I'm told that the Spanish police had received a message from the British authorities warning them that an IRA group could be trying to operate on Spanish soil.
Welcome to Watchmojouk UK, and today we're looking at the most shocking things to happen on TV in the 1980s.
The police say they were forced to charge, but the miners allege deliberate aggression and brutality as they were gradually driven away from the coking plant.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Number 10. Russell Harty and Grace Jones.
She says that she's just met you.
Don't turn your back to me.
Well,
He's got it.
she says.
A chat show titan in the 70s and 80s, Russell Harty's entire subsequent career was overshadowed by this incident in 1980. Only a few months on from the success of her album, warm leatherette, model, actress and all-round icon, Grace Jones appeared on Russell Harty to do promo for her next album, Night Clubbing.
And fall out of the chair.
Yeah, that's right. Fall back on it now.
Help.
I'll help.
In later years, Jones has said that she was sleep deprived and still getting over the effects of some substances she'd taken the day before. When the programme's other guests arrived, she complained about Harty ignoring her, all of which culminated in her slapping him on television. Clearly, sitting the host in the middle of the guests was a silly idea.
Well, don't turn your back on me anymore.
I can't look at you. Now, hold on, just a minute. Just a
Move your
minute.
chair.
Number 9. The Blue Peter Garden.
Vandals broke into the Blue Peter garden and caused rather a lot of damage.
One of the most distressing moments in the history of children's television came in 1983, when Janet Ellis was forced to somberly announce that the Blue Peter Garden had been ruthlessly trashed.
The vandals then broke our lovely ornamental urn given to us by Mr. Taylor from Barnet. They then smashed up our sundial and then callously threw it into the pond.
After smashing up urns and sundials, the vandals took it upon themselves to try and kill the goldfish, pouring oil into the pond. Luckily, a few of the fish did survive, and the garden was cleaned.
But it's very sad to think that a few people take such pleasure from harming their fellow human beings and from hurting animals as well.
It's become a bit of a joke in hindsight, especially with the widespread rumours blaming footballers Les Ferdinand and Dennis Wise for the mess, something they've both always denied, but it was horrible news for the nation's children and for those fish.
People who do this sort of thing must be mentally ill, Janet, mustn't they?
I think so.
Terrible when you come to look at it.
Number 8. Doctor Who gets violent.
He moved.
Reflex.
Maybe he isn't fully dead.
And he soon will be. Here comes the acid bath.
Television in the 1980s was dogged by one memorable, real-life villain, housewife Mary Whitehouse. She'd begun bothering broadcasters back in the 1960s, but the 80s were the height of her power, and she had a personal grudge against Doctor Who. It's no secret that classic Who was going down the pan in the 80s, and would eventually be cancelled, but one of the key marks against it was the 6th Doctor's disregard for other people.
They always do that. It's to show the acid's highly corrosive.
In the most infamous scene of all, the Doctor survives a brawl while his attackers fall into an acid bath. No, he didn't push them like some suggest, but he equally didn't help them, and shot out a one-liner before leaving them to die an agonising death.
You forgive me if I don't join you.
Number 7. Threads. Coming less than a year after Able Archer, the military exercise that brought the world closer to nuclear war than ever before, when the USSR wrongly believed it was preparation for an actual attack, Threads traumatised an entire generation of Brits. Depicting the build-up and then long aftermath of a global nuclear war through a group of people living in Sheffield, Threads pulled no punches in its portrayal of the horrors of radiation and atomic weapons. At the time, these anxieties troubled people around the world every single day, although we're not sure that the ordinary people watching Threads were the ones who'd be able to stop a war from breaking out.
Detention camps are improvised to cope with looters. Their numbers are growing.
Number 6. V.
And we'll all be thrown together if the pit, whose galleries once ran beneath this plot, causes the distinguished dead to drop into the rabblement of bone and rot.
This poem, written by Tony Harrison and first published in 1985, was hardly controversial in literary circles, and was celebrated as a fine example of kitchen sink realism about the poet's hometown of Leeds. However, the wider public took more notice of it in 1987, when Channel 4 broadcast a special programme in which Harrison read V.
There's Leeds versus the opponent of last week, this week or next, and a repertoire of blunt four-letter curses on the team or race that makes the sprayer vex.
It caused some uproar though, because of the poem's strong language, too strong for us to actually play you many of the clips on YouTube. Even though Harrison began the reading by basically explaining the themes of the poem to anybody who didn't get it, the tabloids still kicked up a stink, saying that Channel 4 allowing the poem to be read was obscene.
These V's are all the versuses of life. From Leeds versus Derby, black, white, and, as I've known to my cost, man versus wife, communist v fascist, left v right.
Number 5. Real lives at the edge of the Union.
The nationalist people of the 6 counties have borne the brunt of British repression.
Throughout the 1980s, British broadcasters were given stricter and stricter rules by the government about how they could and could not report on the Troubles. One of the biggest rows of the era, where the BBC was concerned, was through this programme, At the Edge of the Union, an episode of Real Lives, that the government ordered the BBC not to broadcast in 1985.
Anyone visiting here from any other country in the world wouldn't have come to any other conclusion, but this was a place at war.
The intervention of the government caused immense public outcry, with the programme following a politician from each side of the aisle, one from the DUP and one from Sinn Féin, and interviewing them about their lives in Derry.
This film looks at those extremes through the eyes of 2 men, both young, working class, teetotal, church-going, elected representatives, members of the Northern Ireland Assembly.
Journalists went on strike over the censorship, grinding BBC News to a halt, but restrictions on Irish news reporting only got tighter. Number 4. The Zircon Affair.
During the operation, police removed all documents and film material relating to the series called Secret Society.
Another moment of government censorship. 1 year after At the Edge of the Union, the government waded into the BBC yet again to force it not to broadcast an episode of Secret Society about Zircon, a top-secret spy satellite that the public was not meant to know about. In fact, even Parliament didn't know about it. The entire scheme was devised in secret by GCHQ and the Ministry of Defence.
That's not a secret, just something the Ministry of Defence would prefer wasn't discussed openly.
Upon learning about the episode of Secret Society, Special Branch raided the Beeb to get its files on Zircon, causing outrage from the public and from MPs who'd been kept in the dark. Zircon was eventually cancelled, but not before a lot of drama.
This, of course, is the reason for the Ministry's embarrassment.
Number 3. Brimstone and Treacle, 1987.
Do you want me to go? Is that it?
If you know anything about Dennis Potter, you'll know that his programmes and plays are extremely controversial, none more so than Brimstone and Treacle. It was actually written and filmed back in 1976, but the Beeb thought it was so shocking that they pulled it, refusing to air it for another 9 years, by which point it had already been turned into a bizarre film starring Sting.
I've had many jobs.
Have you haven't got one now, Owen?
The moment I saw the situation in this house, I knew I had a job.
We're going to have to censor ourselves for YouTube, but the plot essentially follows a demon ingratiating himself with the local family and then repeatedly assaulting their daughter. One person in particular wanted it to never see the light of day, Mary Whitehouse again, who took a personal dislike to Potter.
I see a poor young girl whose only hope of any semblance of humanity lies in the loving care of someone young enough, strong enough, brave enough, devoted enough and free enough.
Number 2. death on the rock.
Well, it seems to me that if you can get that close to someone, if you can get within 4 feet of your target, is it really necessary to shoot them, or even if it is necessary to shoot them?
Another controversy about the Troubles. This time it was Thames Television, a franchise of ITV, rather than the BBC, that was in hot water. In 1988, they broadcast an episode of This Week, covering the deaths of 3 IRA members in Gibraltar. ITV's journalists suggested that the British government's version of events was wrong, and that the IRA men didn't pose a threat at the time, since none of them were armed, and there was no explosive device nearby.
As he went through passport control, he appeared to slip through routinely. But in reality, Spanish security police were already watching for him.
The question was why they'd been shot, rather than arrested. People were outraged, and a historic inquiry was launched, during which it became clear that ITV's film was closer to the truth than what the government claimed.
But what the IRA didn't know was that inside the Defence Ministry in London, the Joint Operations Centre was already on alert and preparing to defeat the IRA attack on the Rock of Gibraltar.
Number 1. The Battle of Orgreave.
And the police said it wasn't a picket, it was a riot. They said they'd never seen anything like it. It was the second day of violence in South Yorkshire. Mrs. Thatcher said there was an attempt to substitute mob rule for the rule of law.
In 1984, miners at a coking plant in Orgreave, roughly halfway between Sheffield and Rotherham in South Yorkshire, got into a violent clash with the police during the miners' strike, one of the most important events of the decade.
Come on, no way.
Listen, Mo.
No way.
Listen,
no way.
You're blocking the footpath. Right, arrest him, then he's under arrest.
However, the BBC's coverage of the violence left much to be desired, broadcasting things out of order, so it looked like the miners started the riot as opposed to South Yorkshire police, who actually did. The BBC later claimed that it was a mistake, but not until 1991, with the BBC internally supposedly thinking the issue was imbalance, rather than that it had completely misrepresented events to smear the striking miners.
The horses were sent in and the situation quickly broke down.
Hell, I'm getting in between them.
Let us know in the comments what list you want us to do next.